Hello and happy early Halloween. So, being that this is the first year that I'm going to be recording movie reviews for Halloween, I've decided to go the first route that my dad introduced me to when I was getting into horror films. And that is Scream Queen Jamie Lee Curtis. So let's see which movie we are starting off with.
Alrighty, so the first one we're starting off with is Terror Train. And as we can see, we are presented with Miss Jamie Lee Curtis. And it looks like she's at a frat party. And the frat party is trying to coerce this guy into having sex with Jamie Lee Curtis's character. But the truth of the matter is that this is going to become a prank that will go horribly, horribly wrong. The film was shot in Montreal, Canada, my home country. Um, and the guy who plays the kid who's going to be pranked on, his name is Kenny. And he's actually a very sensitive guy, it seems at first, a very nice guy. And they're all going in on this horrible, horrible prank. Even Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Elena. And it's not until truly this 1 second she realizes just how bad this prank was and how it was going to affect him.
Okay, so let's talk about what we just saw. So here's how they're introducing us to the movie. We have Jamie Lee Curtis, who seems to be the conscionable, feeling guilty for what they've done to this young man, and the rest are a bunch of dicks. You got that?
We flash forward to 3 years later. It seems that everyone has moved on from the really, really bad prank that they had pulled at the beginning of their college life, and they're all ready to celebrate the New Year's at a costume party. And it looks like it's going to be an awesome party. And the fact that it takes place aboard a train is pretty nifty. Um, to this day, I don't understand why they didn't just make this a Halloween party, but given the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis had been in a movie called Halloween. Oh, there's the first victim. Um, Not even 2 years before, and I think she was just starting to make the sequel to it. I think it would have been rather redundant. For those of you who didn't notice, the magician or the guy with the huge trunk at the beginning, a few stills back, that was actually David Copperfield. That's right, this is David Copperfield's first and only film. We see the confrontation between Elena and the guy who initially came up with the prank on poor Kenny, who ended up losing his mind. There's Elena's best friend. She was almost taken out by the guy who's taken over the persona of the guy who originally wore the costume. And this is how he gets around from person to person. He takes over their costumes. We see Elena once again kind of disgusted with the crew because apparently she never got over what they did to Kenny. Oh, here's David Copperfield. What's amazing about David Copperfield's presence in this film is that, and even he actually admitted that every single trick that we see on screen, none of that is movie magic. That is all him. Everything that we see is what the extras and the actors saw. That's pretty amazing. Um, and it actually plays in very well with the rest of the film because the film, despite taking place once again on New Year's, this would have been an excellent Halloween movie because You're dealing with costumes, you're dealing with supposed magic and tricks. And we just found supposedly the first body. Everybody is completely ignorant to the fact that, oh, and it all got cleaned up. Once again, emphasizing, is this a trick? Are these kids just playing a bunch of jokes? And this sort of thing? But no, going back to, this would have made an excellent Halloween film. Once again, I do understand why it wasn't, but it really, really would have been an excellent Halloween film. But once again, she had been in Halloween film previously, and she was just about to make the second one. And one by one, slowly, all the perpetrators of that night die. And even Elena's boyfriend is about to supposedly succumb to temptation. And we see another trick by David Copperfield. This was truly a unique film in terms of Jamie Lee Curtis is not a completely innocent bystander in this film. She was very much a guilty party of the acts perpetrated against the young man at the beginning, but she feels guilty. She feels horrible, and she feels guilty about what happened, which is a redeeming fact about her character. And it makes you not want her to die. You want her to live. Now we just seen her boyfriend he's just died, or he was stabbed, and they don't know what's going on with him. And as it turns out, he was stabbed. And the main perpetrator, Doc, he is starting to really truly feel guilty, or at least genuinely upset that his friend is dead. The conductor is just trying to get all the kids off the train. He wants them all to live. At this point, Elena is trying to convince Doc, okay, I know who the killer is. It's gotta be Kenny. He's the only one who's really truly mad at all of us because of what we did. Doc, however, takes the persona, well, it was just a bad prank. And as we see throughout the film, he just justifies everything he does. Elena, however, once again, she had very redeeming qualities, and even though she feels bad about what happened to Kenny, she's not willing to die for it. And Kenny, Doc, as we can see, is just about to die. And the kids still don't know what's going on. And this is a very cold winter, Miss Curtis.
Miss Curtis, I would like to be one of the many, many Canadians who have probably seen this film, and I salute you. A Canadian winter sucks. And the fact that you were in that thin shirt and you were doing those scenes and running around, I give you kudos, woman. The camera's literally froze in this movie. Seriously, look it up on IMDb. The camera's froze. And yet she stayed in character. That says a lot.
At this point, everyone's thinking, okay, the killer has to be the magician. It has to be him, because Kenny was a magician, as we saw in the yearbook. And the conductor, he's trying to figure out, okay, well, what happened to Doc first? And as we can see, Doc did not meet a very well end. He met probably the most gruesome end out of everyone who had died that night on the train. We see the magician's assistant. They're trying to get her to safety. They want Elena to relax, which obviously she can't, because she knows, okay, I was involved just as much as everybody else. I'm nervous, I'm scared, I don't want to die. Which, once again, Elena is a very, very strong character in this film, and it's truly amazing how at first we see her as a perpetrator, but in the end we just want her to get through it. And as we can see, the killer is more than willing to do what he has to do to go after Elena, and the conductor is looking for the magician. They can't find him. They think maybe he jumped the train. And we go back to Elena, who is now being stalked by the killer. Um, Actually, the guy who plays him, he's an actor from Nova Scotia, which is interesting for me because at this point in time, we had a lot of horror films come in and around Nova Scotia or Nova Scotians. And it's just a fun fact for someone like me, who everyone says, well, nothing happens here, but actually quite a bit happened here during this time. We see a struggle between Jamie Lee Curtis's character and the killer, and I will give this to Curtis. Almost every character that she's played in these type of films almost always puts up a struggle. While most girls just scream for their lives, she puts up a good fight. And it just goes to show that it's sometimes not necessarily about the film that you're in. It's how much of a good character you can play. And each character she played very, very well. She shows that these women are strong, that they can survive. She tries to appeal to him, but realizes, okay, I might not be able to, but I'm not dying because of a prank. I feel guilty, but I don't want to die. And she puts up one hell of a struggle. And at first we think, okay, he's dead. This has got to be the end of the movie, right? This has got to be the end. Not necessarily. So we see that Elena is being watched over. She's being cared for. They feel bad for her because this has just been a night of hell. This is not... Oh, and he's back. He's back. But, no, this was not how anyone would want to spend their New Year's. This, one other piece of trivia to this film, this was actually thought up of in a dream by the director or the screenplay writer. And he, not even the night after he dreamt of this, he was in negotiations to make the movie. As we can see, the magician is dead. Poor Elena is now she just wants to live, and she thinks she's going to the conductor, but the truth of the matter is she just walked into a trap. And we see that the conductor is actually Kenny, and he had disguised himself as a woman to get aboard the train, which once again falls under, this whole thing was just a bunch of tricks and treats. It was all a matter of illusion, which is what David Copperfield's character as the magician was. This was all an illusion. But the murders were very, very much real and very, very much scary. Now Elena tries to apologize, but Kenny will have none of it. He just says, "Kiss me," but he suffers a mental breakdown. Elena realizes just what's going on. She's scared. The conductor battles with Kenny, and he falls off the train and falls to his death in the icy Canadian winter. Very sad.
Okay, so in conclusion, this was an awesome movie. It was a Canadian movie, and it was done on a low budget scale. I was actually very impressed that they got David Copperfield in this particular film, along with Jamie Lee Curtis. It wasn't the start of her scream queen career, but she did a very good job of being a character who initially you're kind of mad at because of the part she played in this young man's mental downfall. But she kind of transitioned into the person where you want her to win. You really genuinely want her to survive. So I give that kudos. Terror Train, awesome Scream Queen film for Jamie Lee Curtis. Next one, Prom Night.